The Philosophy of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood by Wisecrack chat. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Jared again. Today we're talking about anime's most powerful pipsqueak. Sorry about that, Edward. Now, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has all the trappings of an instant classic. High-concept science fiction? Check. Awesome fight scenes? Definitely. Strong philosophical core? Well, that's why we're here. Throughout Edward and Alphonse's journey to restore their bodies, the two are confronted with various discourses on the efficacy and application of science, or in their case, alchemy. Sure, it's through alchemy that they hope to recover their bodies, but they also see it used for some pretty awful things. So, what is Brotherhood saying about science and the way it's applied to this world? And how does faith fit into this discussion? Well, let's find out. Welcome to this Wisecrack edition on the philosophy of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And of course...
Yes, spoiler warning, chatos. Because if you'll never watch a show, then click off this video. If you've already watched FMAB, then you'll continue to watch. Or if you want to just watch this video and enjoy it as it is, then do watch the video, chat.
Spoilers ahead. But first, a quick primer. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is set in a mess. The defining feature is the success of alchemy, or the manipulation and altering of matter using natural energy. Alchemy is essentially treated as a science, one that combines chemistry and biology with its own unique laws and principles. Alchemy's most important law, the law of equivalent exchange. Or, you know, the law that means if you get the right materials and draw a circle, you can do this. The show establishes a push and pull dynamic between science and faith almost immediately. In episode 3, Ed and Al
So basically, it's the philosophy of science and faith. And which is the right option?
travel to the desert town of Lior to investigate Father Cornello, a holy figure who has gained control of the people by
Holy figure could mean like a priest or something like that, chat.
awing them with miracles and indoctrinating them in the faith of Leoism. The second they arrive, though, the brothers make their views abundantly clear to the faithful.
So basically the scientists, because they believe in science, they don't believe in God, they believe only what they can see, they don't believe what they can't see, so therefore they don't have any faith in God. Though I never say this goes for all scientists. Some scientists do believe in God, but there's some scientists who believe only in science and not in God, and they don't have any faith in God. Yeah, they believe science is truth, and they don't believe what they don't see.
And their skepticism toward the divine is justified. As it turns out, Cornello's miracles are just cleverly veiled
So
applications
basically this guy is manipulating people.
of alchemy that he uses to attract followers willing to die for him. Ed and Al expose Cornello as a fraud and liberate the people of Lior from his ideological tyranny.
Now doesn't that mean like basically, since that guy is basically building followers and building people to follow him to become a mighty being, he's using science in that matter? So doesn't that mean like science is the only truth and not faith?
So, science rules, faith drools.
Exactly.
Right? Well, not so fast. In the following episode, the brothers are sent to study under the Soy life alchemist Shou Tucker. Tucker!
Shou Tucker! Chat, do you know how bad Sam was? Like what the hell, this dude is nah. If y'all know what Shou Tucker did, if y'all know, you'll know, chat. If y'all know, you'll know.
Tucker was the first alchemist to successfully create a talking chimera and tries to repeat his success in order to retain his state alchemist certification. The Onyx fascination quickly turns to horror, and one of the biggest gut punches in anime history.
Like literally, this is one of the most infamous scene in all of anime. If y'all know, y'all know.
We see this. Yeah, that's right. Tucker actually used his family dog and his own daughter as components to create his chimera. But
That
far
was actually messed up. That was so messed up what Shou Tucker just did, bro.
from feeling remorse, Tucker claims he was only doing what science demands. 何を起こることがある？人類の進歩は無数の人体実験の賜物だろう。君も科学者だ。In the face face of such an atrocity, science no longer seems so innocent, does it? So where does this conflict between science and faith lead us? Tucker, the amoral alchemist, in search
Yeah, basically the morale. You don't have any morale.
of science,
Spoken about the philosophy topic of morale before on one of my TikTok streams, and I plan to also make another video about morale.
scientific knowledge at any cost largely sets the tone for the rest of the show. Over its 64 episodes, Brotherhood forces us to question the value of single-mindedly clinging to science and the
64 episodes, tight storytelling, amazing concepts and great themes. Also have some of the best philosophy in all of anime, which I think is exceptional. So yeah, chat.
consequences of reducing all knowledge to scientific terms, a mode of thought loosely known in the real world as scientism. Now I know what you're thinking, Jared. Doubting science is what people in a cult do. But just hear me. When philosophers critique scientism, they're not saying that science is a lie. What they're criticizing is how we put scientific knowledge above all.
Like this is the most important part in the video. One of the most important parts. Like people put science here, and they put all the other stuff here, like religion, everything else, all factual knowledge will obviously be on top, and all other beliefs will be at the bottom. That's how life is. But technically, people who are in belief, like religious people, obviously think that religion beats everything, and that's false in my opinion, because you can't say religion beats everything when science literally reigns above, like in every way. Science is the reason we are living, by the way, gang. So come on, let's put our minds and let's think for once. Use your brains, chat. Come on.
Other knowledge, and how we try to reduce other forms of knowledge into it. According to
Exactly. Other forms of knowledge go down. Even beliefs. Beliefs are one of the lowest forms of knowledge, and I wouldn't consider that knowledge because it's just a belief. Knowledge such as science, right here, it reigns supreme. It's not even close.
philosopher Paul Feyerabend, science is just one of many competing explanatory frameworks. One which is neither
But science is considered the truth because basically it's proven. Science is proven, beliefs are not proven, chat.
as rational nor consistent as it pretends to be. Feyerabend's favorite example is Copernicus, whose heliocentric model of the universe was actually rejected by scientists of his day. To them, Aristotle's idea of celestial spheres offered a fuller explanation of why the planets moved in the sky. While Copernicus's model could correctly calculate the movement of the planets, it couldn't explain why they moved as they did until Newton's theory on gravity was published over a century later. Science, in this case, wasn't interested in the truth so much as self-preservation. Like any ideology, Feyerabend worries that an unquestioning acceptance of it, like with Leora and Letoism,
It does depend on a person's ideology in terms of how much belief they hold and how much of factual knowledge they hold. That's what I believe.
can lead to some potentially disastrous results. In his book Against Method and Science in a Free Society, Feyerabend asks, is it not possible that science as we know it today, or a search for the truth in the style of traditional philosophy, will create a monster? And monsters are exactly what science creates in the world of Brotherhood, such as man-made chimeras that are
Well, you can also say that about nowadays science. Like nowadays science, they're merging anything. They dehumanize stuff. They dehumanize animals.
referred to as ungodly experiments.
Yeah, it's basically experimenting on other animals and other humans, which is not allowed basically, so no one should do that. No scientists out there should experiment on other human beings. I think that's very immoral and very dehumanizing. So just lay off that, chat. Like literally lay off that. Even if you want to become future scientists, do not try to achieve immortality or some stupid thing like that. That's ridiculous.
This impersonal, dehumanizing aspect of alchemy is
What I just say, chat? What I just say?
enshrined in the law of equivalent exchange, which inherently reduces objects, animals, and even people to their physical components. The Ulrich brothers' entire journey starts because the two believe they can bring their mother back to life by simply transmuting the basic ingredients of a human being. This dehumanizing nature is furthered by one of alchemy's most sought-after creations, the Philosopher's Stone. When Ed and Al decode Dr. Marco's notes, they realize the key ingredient to the stone is human life.
Nah, like who's gonna sacrifice their life for that shit, chat? Come on, let's be honest, bro. Like if you really wanna do that, chat, that's a bit dehumanizing in my opinion. You should not do that. That's like beyond your control. Why would you even attempt that? Why would you even think about that in the first place? It's out of the human's bounds. You can't just do that to any human, bro. And that to our multiple sacrifices is crazy. That too, it's multiple. It's not one, it's multiple.
The stone is the ultimate product of alchemy, allowing its users to ignore the law of equivalent exchange. But even though the stone can restore Ed and Al's bodies, the two are reluctant, if not just plain unwilling, to use the stone. In contrast, the homunculi, artificial humans powered by philosopher's stones, regurgitate scientific philosophy, reducing the souls trapped within the stones to mere alchemic principles.
肉体も精神もとうの昔に朽ち果ててエネルギーとして消費されるだけの存在さ。自分がどんな姿だったかも覚えちゃいないね。どうしようこいつらはもう人間には戻れない。感情じゃなくて理屈で人間の定義にせーの言ってよ。
Yeah, see, even if you're gonna bring a person to life, they're not gonna be as they were before, because their original self are literally vanished, is literally gone. So they won't have the same personality, they won't remember you, but they will be alive, but not the person you used to know.
While Ed and Al both use the power of the stones on one occasion each, they do so while respecting the autonomy of those souls.
こんなに仕込みになってるのにまだ人の命として認めてるお前だから頼んだ。俺には分かる。どんな見てくれになったって大事なものを守るために戦いたいんだよ。
This distinguishes the brothers as moral, according to philosopher Immanuel Kant, who famously stated that you must treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, always at the same time as an end, never merely as a means. For Kant,
Like never ever use human beings.
people are never meant to be used or reduced to calculations, but rather are always a goal in themselves. But Ed and Al's problem with alchemy is larger than its impersonal nature, but also its subservience to the military. Alchemy is so under the control of the Amestrian government that there are actually 3 state-appointed...
You can also use it in real life examples, because technically our country like rules the military in turn, which in turn literally has control over scientists.
...appointed tenets of alchemy, the first of which is literally obey the military.
国家錬金法の三大制限を知ってるかね。確か軍に逆らうな。
In fact, state alchemists are generally referred to as dogs of the military, and even as human weapons.
鉄血の錬金術師マスクランすなわち兵士の兵士。
In his book Science Wars, sociologist Stanley Aronowitz argues that scientists often view themselves as vehicles facilitating the advancement of learning and, by application, the progress of mankind. Yet, scientists' funding must come from somewhere, and often...
That's why scientists make a lot of money. Even the funding costs a lot. Like, you take for any example, right? Real world examples. Scientists, to make a new formula, to make a new vaccine, it costs a lot of funding, it costs a lot of testing, worth a lot. And in turn, the payment they receive is also a lot, it's tons of cash.
It's from corporations or the state. As such, scientists don't really own their discoveries and have little say about their application. Throughout the anime...
because technically the government is funding them. So they have to do whatever the government tells them to do. They are going to get paid huge amount of money after the job is completed.
Ed constantly clashes with this militarization of science by the state and his own complicity with it. As Alex Armstrong succinctly puts it,
しかも錬金術師を大衆のために追われ真理の探求者だったはずの錬金術師が国家資格を得た途端軍の人間兵器に変わる。
We even see this military influence distort the basic principles of science. When Ed and Al reminisce about being trained on a desert island as children, they come to the epiphany that alchemy is all about understanding the natural flow of energy, both deconstructing and reconstructing it.
1は善、善は1の答えって。
Another philosophical topic. One is all and all is one. There's also a different meaning to this. The Eget theory basically means that all humans are one person and one person is all humans. That's also another theory in philosophy which is called the Eget theory.
味方 その流れを知り、分析して再構築する。それが錬金術。
But this principle is later twisted in the mouths of the military. In justifying destroying the whole country and slaughtering its population, one general even goes so far as to rephrase it as alchemic rebirth.
Nah, that's twisting it. That's actually twisting it. That's not what they said, bro. What they meant is, one human is all humans and all humans is one. Does not give one human the right to literally, you know what I mean, literally end humanity. That's wrong. That's inhumane. That is not true. That will not give us eternal life, buddy.
As tools of the government, alchemists have become the very instruments of the series' chief antagonist, Father, who controls the Amestrian state. Father desires nothing more than to assume the mantle of God, a goal which he's used alchemy, countless military conflicts, and millions of innocent lives to prepare for. In fact, Amestris...
See, he's a strategist villain. He's a strategy villain, bro. The way he mounts his strategy is just exceptional. It's mind-blowing. Fantastic. He's a very strategic villain.
Amestris' most brutal and heartless war, the Ishvalan War of Extermination, was fought just to further Father's plan. And it's this war where the state alchemists made their largest military impact.
軍上層部から下された命令はイシュバール殲滅。多くの国家錬金術師が人間兵器として駆り出された。
What's shocking about Ishval isn't just the devastating force that alchemy wreaked on it, but the scientific language used to explain it. Even the good guys here can't help but couch what's essentially genocide in these sterile scientific terms.
お前さんが焼いて俺が解剖。イシュバールは巨大な実験場だった。
In fact, this sanitizing nature of scientific language is what escalated the Ishvalan War to new heights. As Fuhrer King Bradley told the High Priest of Ishvala when he offered himself up in exchange for a ceasefire, the law of equivalent exchange won't allow it.
貴様一人の命と残り数万の命とで同等の価値があると？一人の命はそのもの一人分の価値しかなく、それ以上にもそれ以下にもならん。
Hell, the Fuhrer even considers his wife to be nothing more than an expendable pawn for his greater...
That's crazy. Look, I did make a video saying all humans are unequal, but what they are equal in, that they are humans after all. There's two things they are equal in. When they pass away, and that they are all humans. That's the only two things. Their race, and their end. That is all that matters. Nothing more and nothing less.
Your scheme. Now, if the title of Fuhrer is raising eyebrows among you, there's a good reason for that. The country of Amestris is reminiscent of pre-World War II Germany, a militant nation expanding beyond its borders, and a blonde-haired, blue-eyed army whose uniforms look a lot like that of the SS. Even the might is right motivation behind Nazi Germany bubbles to the surface in Amestris, as General Raven invokes social Darwinism to justify mass extermination.
そう、弱肉強食だ。弱き者が国の礎となり、強き者がその上に繁栄する。
And if that's not enough to convince you, then you only have to compare Amestris' human experiments to that of Auschwitz's lead doctor, Joseph Mengele. Whether it's raising babies in underground laboratories, stitching together people and animals, or ripping...
That was a horrendous creation in my opinion, bro. What did Shou Tucker think, bro, while doing that horrendous creation? It's out of my mind, chat. What?
Souls from bodies, it's hard to say that Amestris lacks the same wanton cruelty and morbid scientific curiosity that defined Mengele's operations. Mengele established a kindergarten at Auschwitz for his younger experiments, allegedly stitching two gypsy girls together. And if he could have gotten his hands on a literal soul, he probably would have mutilated it. Oh yeah, did we mention that Feierabend actually fought as a lieutenant in World War II, even earning an Iron Cross in the process? Witnessing firsthand the scientific arguments made by a dictatorship for war and genocide, it's no surprise that Feierabend would one day propose a separation between science and state, with ultimate power resting in democracy. In his lecture, How to Defend Society...
Yeah, technically, nowadays, like, this new era, democracy is a big part of the government. So technically, that's how it is, chat. Like back in the day, you were literally forced to be a government dog. You were literally forced to work under the military. So basically, the scientists had to do anything what the military used to tell them. But not anymore, chat. The rules have obviously changed. Nowadays, the scientists have free will, but still the scientists chose to work under the military, so they get funding for their projects, and they get a huge reward, they get a huge payment basically after they done their job.
Society from science, he argued there must be a formal separation between state and science, just as there is now a formal separation between state and church. Scientists may be consulted on important projects, but the final judgment must be left to the democratically elected consulting bodies. So it's safe to say that Fullmetal Alchemist presents a cautionary tale about the blind adherence to science. But what does it say about faith? Well, throughout its 64-episode run, faith is often portrayed as another explanatory model, another source of truth and power. In fact, for a show populated almost entirely by scientists, the characters make a number of appeals to faith. In the episode The Miracle of Rush Valley, Ed and Al witness the delivery of a baby, become awestruck, and point out the limitations of alchemy.
錬金術師が何百年かけて未だ成し得てない人間が人間を作るってよ。
Bro, what do you mean anybody can create another person? What are we doing, gang? Gang, this has been stated back like in the 17th century. No, when humans first came onto Earth, they could create another person. What are we doing, gang? What do you mean another? What do you mean alchemy stated another person create another person? Basically, I mean that's common knowledge, bro. Even if you have zero brain cells, you will still know how to create another human. What are we talking about, gang?
Dr. Marco, the alchemist largely responsible for the creation of the Philosopher's Stone during the Ishval Civil War, calls it fate that he met the Ishvalan Scar before the two set out together to challenge the
You
government.
can't call that fate.
Knox, who worked
It has to do a part with fate, but you can't make the entire thing surrounding fate. That would be ridiculous.
as a doctor during the war and was subsequently estranged from his family, invokes God when they return to him.
もしも神様ってのがいるなら見逃してくれよ。こんな俺でもよ。
Even Bradley, a homunculus, wonders if his own death at the hand of Scar was providence.
天も神も信じていなかったが、こういうの天は我に味方せずとでも言うのかね。
Bradley, who mercilessly killed these fallen people during the war, was told that God would strike him down one day. And it was the sun.
That was actually fate. Now this is fate. This situation is fate.
Looking like a crescent moon, which together symbolized God in alchemy, that blinded him and allowed Scar to strike the finishing blow. So is that the thematic takeaway of the show? Science is bad, faith is good, so keep on praying? Well, not quite. See, the problem with scientism
Okay, another plot twist.
isn't that science is bad and that non-science is good. Fire Element isn't giving the middle finger to vaccines and posting about chemtrails on Twitter. No, instead, his main contention is that science is just one of many ideas that propel society and should be treated.
Yeah, technically fate does play a part. I'm not saying fate doesn't. But science is proven. Science is tested and proven and is factual. Like, everything cannot be fate. There are certain situations which resolve around fate. But, like, science is factual and proven.
Thus, what Fire Element opposes is any unreflective veneration of any ideology because it inhibits free thought.
I would say the best ideology is a mixture of both faith and science.
As it turns out, the blind following of science as the arbiter of truth is just as harmful as the blind following of faith as the arbiter of truth. Whether it's Father Cornello and the homunculi using the Leoists to incite violence against their enemies, or Scar using his god Ishvala to justify his vengeance against the alchemists.
醜い復讐心は神の代行人ってオブラートに包んですごぶってるだけだ。
Faith alone can be every bit just as scary as science. Characters grow in Brotherhood when they realize the limitations of adhering to any one ideology. Edward and Alphonse, for example, begin to question the foundations of Western alchemy, which supposedly takes its energy from the tectonic movements of the Earth's mantle, when Father manages to cancel it out. It's their quest for an explanation that leads them to science's Eastern equivalent, alchemy, which uses life energy from the planet. It's ultimately bridging the gap between these two ideologies that allows our heroes to eventually triumph. The two different sciences come together to make a reverse transmutation circle that saves the lives of all Amestris. Perhaps Perhaps no character embodies this development more than Scar. A survivor of the Ishvalan War of Extinction, Scar targets state alchemists out of revenge. To him, not only are alchemists weapons, but they transgress against God, who alone possesses the right to create. He realizes how wrong he was to seek vengeance.
何を言っても言い訳にしかならん。俺がロックベルという医者夫婦を殺したのは事実。
Scar, who once cloaked his actions in the words of God, finally understands that no ideology can justify murder. Scar even breaks from the strict
That's true. No ideology can justify that.
laws that govern his fate, making use of the very alchemy that his god abhors in order to save the country he once hated.
そうだろう。俺がこんなものを使うなど、少し前まで俺自身も想像していなかった。
Scar's transformation stands in stark contrast to the show's main antagonist, Father, who clings to his single-minded belief in science. Father becomes obsessed with the power of alchemy and takes this obsession to the logical extreme, viewing mankind as little more than materials for him to use in becoming God. Blinded by scientism, Father can't understand the value of human emotions and discards them in his attempt to become perfect. He literally rips the 7 deadly sins from himself: lust, greed, sloth, gluttony, envy, wrath, and pride, who in turn become the other homunculi. Ultimately, it's this conviction in the absolute supremacy of science and the ability to achieve perfection through it that undoes Father. The souls trapped in the Philosopher's Stone, which he dismissed as mere energy, begin to assert their wills and rebel against him. Father's conception of a soul as a mere ingredient fails to account for the autonomy of these individuals. After an epic punch to the gut, Father is finally killed and dragged back into the void from whence he came, where he meets the real God, a being called Truth. Still desperately clinging to scientism, Father demands to know what he did wrong.
私は完全な存在になりたかった。この世の全てを知りたかった。
You can't be perfect unless you sell. Because Cell is perfect. He's perfect Cell.
欲して何が悪い。
But unlike Scar and others, Father refused to recognize any kind of human wisdom beyond alchemy.
他人の力を盗み、人から生まれたもののくせに、神とやらにしがみついていただけだ。お前自身が成長しておらん。
All of this goes to show what makes Ed and Al particularly special throughout the series: their humble rejection of a single ideology. From the show's outset, the two grapple with what alchemy is and what it means to be a state alchemist.
俺たちの信じる錬金術って何だろうってずっと考えてた。
It's this questioning that makes the brothers seem both naive and likable. At the brothers' core is a strong desire to discover their own truth. When psychopath extraordinaire Solf J. Kimbley has Alphonse cornered, he wonders why our hero doesn't just take the Philosopher's Stone and get his body back.
なぜその力を自分の体を取り戻すために使わないのですか？
Sure, the country would face certain destruction from Father, but that's just equivalent exchange in action. In order to get their bodies back, they'd have to give up the world's safety.
等価交換の法則は
But Al rejects that alchemic worldview, reaffirming their desire to find their own truth.
原則に縛られずに可能性を求めることも人類の進歩には必要だと思うよ。
It's this search for possibilities that distinguishes the brothers and allows Ed to make his final transmutation. After Al sacrifices himself in order to give Ed his arm back, Ed follows his brother into the portal to bring him back. When asked by the Truth what price he'll pay, Ed smiles and offers his ability to perform alchemy. Ed recognizes the arrogance in thinking that alchemy
That's called true sacrifice.
could explain everything, let alone solve all his problems.
真理とかいうものを見せられて錬金術で全てを解決できると思い込んだ。だけどそれは間違いだった。
Unlike Father, who couldn't accept his place in the universe and equated alchemy with power, Ed knows the truth.
錬金術を使わないただの人間になり下がるのか？なり下がるも何も最初からただの人間だ。錬金術がなくてもみんながいるって正解だ。錬金術師
With their bodies back and the day saved, what's left for our heroes to do? In typical Elric fashion, it's to keep searching for truth and new methods to discover it. As Alphonse puts it, they want to give back to the people who helped them all along their journey. But it's not a simple give and take, not a cold formula like the law of equivalent exchange.
いえ、10もらって10返すだけじゃ同じなので。
Technically, if you take and give, it will be equal. But depends who was in the dire situation that got that thing first, and the return won't be as much of satisfaction as the person who received it in the first place. So let me give you an example if you didn't understand what I already said. So say now you need money, you're in a bad situation and someone gives you money, say let's say $100, right? That person already has a lot of money and gave you $100. So technically you worked, you got the money back and you repaid. But does it mean is it equal? Is everything equal? But no, it can never. Because they helped you in a dire situation, in a situation when you needed finance.
10もらったら自分の1を上乗せして11年して返す。小さいけど僕たちがたどり着いた新しい法則です。
To that end, Al is traveling east and Ed west in hopes of gathering all the knowledge to make this principle a reality. Of course, old habits tend to die hard, and when Ed finally confesses his feelings to Winry, it comes out like this.
交換だ。俺の人生半分役だ。お前の人生半分くれ。
Of course, maybe Ed didn't need to go so far from home to realize that science alone can't explain everything.
等価交換の法則ってバカじゃないの？ほんとバカね。半分どころか全部あげるわよ。
We waited 64 episodes for that moment, and it was damn worth it.
Anyways guys, I'll see you in my next anime philosophy video. Until then guys, peace out baby!